And welcome back, everyone. 1st of June, 2025, and it's the box office report. And look, Lilo and Stitch is still dominating the box office, dropping 56.9%, making 63 million-ish, still being number one in its second week. Mission Impossible Final Reckoning makes another 27.3, number two. Karate Kid Legends debuts at $21 million. Final Destination Bloodlines made another 10.8. And Bring Your Back rounds out of the top five with 7.081. So I didn't get the box office right this week. I actually thought Karate Kids would probably make more than Mission Impossible from the tracking I had heard, but it didn't. Lilo and Stitch, though, still wreaking havoc in a good way at the box office. $610 million to date right now, making it, I believe, the third highest grossing film of the year, or second. Let's see. If we're not counting that damn Nizatu, which I'm not. Yeah, it's currently the second highest grossing film of the year, and currently still very much on a positive trajectory to hit $1 billion. And look, 57% is a little high, admittedly. But am I completely surprised? Not completely. You did still have Karate Kid coming out, so you did have something of note to compete with it. And look, it had a $146 million opening weekend. You don't normally, even with like a good family picture, get a drop off that's under 50% most of the time. Things like Inside Out 2, Mario, those are exceptions to the rule more than anything else. So, and beyond that, while most people clearly really like the film, not everyone did. Like, I'm not going to be seeing it again unless someone I know wants to go see it. So, yeah, I can understand why it still took a 56% drop, which is still a good drop-off number. Let's not mince words. That's still a good number to be dropping off from. So, look, at 610, it's doing great in just its second week. Now, A, do I think it's going to beat Minecraft? And then B, do I think it's going to be a $1 billion film? At the rate it's going, with the fact add on to the fact that not this week, but the following week, we do have How to Train Your Dragon coming out, which would be the next big one to take a lot of wind out of this thing's sails. Do I think it can make right now it's Minecraft, I believe, 947 or 949, almost 950. It has to basically do 340 some odd more. I still think it's very possible it can do it. I mean, do not underestimate the international appeal of Lilo and Stitch. Lilo and Stitch is beloved all over the world. So I still think it's very possible. And look, it's 390, 389, however you want to look at it, away from the $1 billion mark, which sounds like a lot, and it is. But for only being in its second week, that's still a doable goal to handle. Or doable goal to reach. Now, when this following weekend comes, and if it's not over, say, 750, 800, something like that, then we'll have to rethink the long term on it. But as it stands, I think it stands a really good shot, and it shows that the film is very much being enjoyed around the world, and it should. It's a very charming film. It has issues, sure. No film's perfect, but good for it that it's got such a good trajectory. And let's be very clear too, on a $100 million budget with at best $100 million in marketing, this film made its money back on opening weekend. This film, as it stands, the theaters take roughly a third of the cut. No joke, has made about $200 million profit right now in just its second week. So even if this film does not make $1 billion, this film could end right now, and it's a hit. So a huge hit. So yeah, no, Lilo and Stitch doing just fine. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning is also actually not doing bad. It dropped a little bit more than Lilo and Stitch, about 57.4%. Still though, that's about what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting a huge a small drop off. It's also not doing badly either. $353.8 million. That's not a bad number, not at all. Admittedly, the film is made on between $300 and $400 million, averaged out to $350, and add $100 million in marketing. you still have a film that needs to hit nearly 700 million just to break even. So it is a little over halfway there. So yay. We'll have to wait and see. It's probably a good thing that this film's probably the last one in the series, at least we're assuming, because quite frankly, these budgets get a little ridiculous after a while. They really do. And you just, especially when you're dealing with a franchise that just doesn't have the pedigree to recoup that investment. But look, at 350 in its second week, it's still doing fairly well. So, and the international clearly is there for it right now, 231.2 just as of right now. So it's not to say it's impossible it couldn't make its money back. It's just, we'll have to wait and see on that. But overall, I mean, it's still a good film. I do wish it was maybe a little shorter, by at least 15. If it were 15 minutes shorter, no joke, just 15 minutes, A, you would have been able to put it in more screens, which means you probably would have been able to get even more money out of it. And B, you would have had more showtimes for those screenings. Well, that's what I meant. You would have had more showtimes, more or less. So, yeah, the length of this movie didn't help it, unfortunately. And it is paced a little slowly at points still. But regardless, now, Karate Kid Legends. Now, I need to just double check real quick on Karate Kid. Karate Kid Legends. What was the budget on this again? I want to say it's like 40 million? 45 million. That's not bad at all. So $45 million. Gotta assume they definitely had more than 20 million in marketing. I would go so far. I would assume about 30 million in marketing. No higher than 40 though, but somewhere between 30 and 40. Which means on the whole, this film is made on, roughly speaking, $75 to $85 million. Which means the film needs to make between 115 to 130. Between 115 and 130 to make its money back. As it stands, 21 million is a little under half its budget, and worldwide it's currently at 47 million. It doesn't have the strongest reviews, but they're not bad. They are over 50%. I gave my review for it Friday. I like the film. I did enjoy it. It's not perfect. It's certainly not the strongest of the Karate Kid movies. But it is entertaining for what it is. Absolutely entertaining for what it is. 21 million is not a bad number. I had heard maybe that it was projected for 45, but I guess I was hearing the budget, not the projections. 21 could be a lot worse. That's almost half its budget. Internationally, 26 is over half its budget. So you know what? It's got an okay start. It has an okay start. And for a film that has to, for a film that has to hit between 115 and 130 to break even, that could be worse. That could be worse. I'm not saying this is a lock to make its money back, but I am saying it's at least got a decent shot. We'll have to wait and see, because we got Ballerina coming up, obviously big action film coming up this week, but it's not really the same type of film as this film is. As it lists right here, action sure, but drama, family, sport film. Ballerina is none of that. It's only action out of that. Maybe some drama, but really not drama. So this is one of those scenarios where the new action film coming out certainly will hurt Mission Impossible, but I don't think it will hurt Karate Kid in the same way. So we'll have to wait and see what next week's going to bring. But I actually think this thing will be okay from Ballerina next week. Won't be okay from How to Train Your Dragon, but Ballerina it should be safe from. Which is a weird sentence to say. It should be safe from the Ballerina next week. By the way, in terms of box office health, if we just look at the top 4 alone, you got 63, 28, or 48 just between these two alone, which means it's still over 100 million at the box office this week. That's a good box office week. Final Destination Bloodlines made another 10.8, $229 million, meaning while Lilo and Stitch is still the headliner, we cannot ignore the fact that this is now the franchise record for this franchise. That it is the highest grossing in the Final Destination series, now by a wide margin. And it's just going to keep adding on to that. No joke, this film could end around 300 million between the international and the domestic, which good. I mean, it's more realistic. It's probably going to be like 260, 280, something like that. But it could hit 300. And you know what? Fair is. It's an entertaining ass movie. It is a fun movie. I had a ball with it personally. Because I understood what it was. That says horror. That should be horror/comedy. This is a funny movie too. So I'm glad that a decent, solid movie earned its money back and then some, and made a profit. And it also goes to show what reasonable budgeting can do for your film. Bring Her Back made 7.008. So basically, it made a little over $8 million this week. I've heard very good things about it. It's not a movie I'd go see personally, but I've heard good things about it. I honestly don't know if I thought it was going to be in the number one spot or in the top 5 or not, but here it is in the top 5. Bottom of the top 5, mind you, but the top 5 nonetheless. I don't know what it's made on. A24 does low budget, so maybe it will be able to do something. I don't know. I don't care enough about it, to be honest. I never had any interest in the film because I'm just not a big horror guy. Every once in a while I will catch a horror movie, but I'm just not a huge, it's not my personal genre. There's movies in the genre I like, just not my genre. Speaking of which, movies in that genre, Sinners made our 5.2 million. It now overtook Thunderbolts in the placing. Didn't take it financially, but to be fair, it did make money, whereas Thunderbolts has not. But 350 for a worldwide total right now. I mean, no one saw this coming, let's be honest. Against a $90 million budget, roughly $50 million marketing budget, allegedly. I'm slightly guessing on that. You're looking at a film that had hit 210, roughly speaking. If the film had been at 250, they would have been like, yeah, it's a success, it made some money, it's beloved. But no, it went on to make 350 and still climbing. Not huge margins, mind you, but still climbing. This is one of those, not worldwide phenomenon films, but kind of. This is definitely an outlier film. This is something that studios are going to look at as like, what did we do right here? Is it Ryan Coogler? Is it Michael B. Jordan? Did we get good script writers? Well, the answer is all of the above. But besides that, like, how can we do this with other films that aren't this type of film? That's what studios are probably going to look at. And right now, still the best film of the year. Hands down, still the best film of the year, in my opinion. So good on Sinners, and I hope it can keep the momentum up. Thunderbolts, sadly, is really now waning, but it's still making a little bit of money here or there. 369.5 is its worldwide total right now after making about 4 this week. So it will cross 330, but it's not good enough. The movie's made on 180. I believe it had about 100 million in marketing, roughly. So you're looking at a film that has to hit about 420 just to break even. It's still got 51 million to go. It does not have that left in the tank. Unless internationally it's got maybe one other spot that's going to give it like a $30-40 million boost, and then it can recoup the rest domestically. It's not making its money back, which sucks. It really sucks. Now, it's still going to make a little bit of money. It probably will hit 380, 390 when it's all said and done. But yeah, it's pretty done. And that sucks. That really does. And I think we've gone over before, but just to recap, Captain America Brave New World hurt the momentum that Deadpool and Agatha had started up. Daredevil was really good, but that's on TV. You need something more in the movies to increase the interest in the moviegoers. But beyond that, it's the B C-listers, with Bucky being the, you could argue A, but not really. He's definitely he's like a B-pluser, but not an A-lister in Marvel characters. So these are, you were already in one or two from TV. John Walker's from television, and he's not from the movies. So unless you've seen Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you're not going to maybe recognize who this guy is. So you're already coming in. This definitely was a Guardians of the Galaxy, but at a time if Guardians of the Galaxy had come out now. I think that's the best way to put it. Because you might say, well, Guardians of the Galaxy made over 700 million. It was great. Yeah. The audience liked it. Critics liked it. It made a lot of money. This also, audience liked it. Critics liked it a lot. But it came out in a time when Marvel isn't on its A game. Guardians came out at a time where the only two real big misses, they weren't even big misses, they just were lackluster, were Iron Man 2 and Thor 2. That was it. Those were your biggest misses, really. Yeah, you could say Incredible Hulk was kind of a miss, but it really wasn't a miss. That was just their second film out. Here you were in phase 2. You had Iron Man 3, you had Thor 2, you had Captain America, Winter Soldier, then Guardians came out. And then I believe it was after that was Ultron. That was Ultron. So, or was it Guardians? No, it was Captain America and then Guardians. So they were still very much at the height of their power. Actually, really, phase 3 is the height of their power, but they were still very much in their element of power. It's like, yeah, we can handle a miss here or there, but we're still making great stuff. Here it's now, we've had too many misses, so people have people need to regain, people need to be, people have lost their faith and trust to a certain degree in the MCU's quality, unfortunately. So if Guardians had come out at this point, same time as Thunderbolts, it probably wouldn't have done well either. Or at very minimum, nowhere near as well as it originally did. So again, you had the lack of, and really it's just this, you had the bad momentum and bad publicity that Marvel's already had, and you had the C to B-listers. It's not really surprising, actually, that the film didn't overly do well, unfortunately, which sucks. But it's still got great word of mouth, great reviews. So this is one where I think in passing or in time, it's going to climb off the charts in terms of how well it's received. It's already received very well. So, yeah, it's unfortunate. But hopefully Fantastic Four can capitalize that on the good word of mouth Thunderbolts had, and hopefully Fantastic Four is also damn good. So we'll have to wait and see. The Last Rodeo, $2.14 million, another Angel Studios film, and unfortunately it follows suit with the Angel Studios films, which again, it's not my genre, but I have nothing against Angel Studios per se. It's Pure Flix I have a thing against. Angel Studios seems to be a much more, what's the best way to put it? It seems to be a lot more respectful to others. I think that's the best way to put it. That's always been my problem with Pureflix. It just doesn't respect anyone but themselves. At least in terms of like the film content they make and how those messages come across. Angel Studios tends to do a better job at that from what I can tell. But just not my genre. And this is par for the course. A lot of Angel Studio films that come out don't usually have a lot of very good legs, unfortunately. So once in a while you get one that's got decent legs, but usually no, especially ones that don't open very strong. I'm not even going to look at that. It's a J-Hope tour. Is this like a K-pop band or something like that? All right, I'll look at it. Why not? J-Hope. J-Hope tour, Hope on Stage in Japan, live viewing. I mean, it's a like some sort of live concert thing. I don't know who that is, but all right. Counting 2, another 776K, from the distance on the screen, if you look at the Accountant 2 poster, it looks like John Bernthal's just lifting his shirt up and showing his abs. Which, man, guy's got good abs. The guy's in his, 40s. John Bernthal's in great shape. So, whatever. $101 million. It's pretty done its run, sadly. It did not make its money back at all. But what are you going to do? They doubled. Again, I still can't understand why you doubled the budget. That didn't make any sense to me, because there's no way they went straight to Ben Affleck and John Bernthal alone. There's no way. Yeah, you get more money you're contractually obligated to get more money. That's in your contract, that if you come back for sequels, you're allowed to get a pay increase. Not $45 million. My guess is they each got 5 to 10 at most. So even if more extra is what I mean. So let's just say 5. I think that's more reasonable. That's still, because your production budget goes towards the salaries too. So that's still $35 million. About where the hell is that money going? You probably could have done this with $20 million less. I could definitely say that. You could have done this with $20 million less. But that still wouldn't have made it profitable. It just means it would have been less of a loss. Whatever. Minecraft movie, as I said, is at $947 million. So good for it. It made its money back. Warner Bros. Having a damn good year right now. Otherwise, the rest of this is pretty nothing burger. Snow White's still in some theaters and people still going to go see it apparently. But it's long done. The Amateur still around, made 58K, 95. It also didn't really make its money back. Hurry Up Tomorrow just got released 2 weeks ago. I want to talk about a film that came like a fart in the wind. Again, my issue with The Weeknd is simply you stop playing yourself and actually start trying to play a character. Anyway, I digress. So, yeah, it's been a pretty solid week this week at the box office. Not too many big surprises. Thought Karate Kid might be doing more, but it did actually okay. So this week we got The Phoenician Scheme in wide release. Don Evil Eye. I'm not familiar with Don Da Don myself. The Ritual, Ballerina, and Dangerous Animals. Okay, I can tell you right now who it's not going to be. What's not going to be in the top 5. Not Don Da Don and not The Phoenician Scheme. It's Wes Anderson, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or Paul Thomas Anderson. Who's the director here? Is it Paul Thomas Anderson or Wes Anderson? Hold on. I always do this. It is Wes Anderson. Yeah, Wes Anderson's a kind of just got this weird tone to him, which is fine. This weird, almost surrealist like tone. I just don't think that's based on the numbers we have right this week, right now. I mean, still got 4 films making double digits, and guaranteed Ballerina is a film that makes double digits next week. So that means you're still probably getting 4 films making double digits. Karate Kid is probably, actually, Karate Kid might make under that, but you'll still get 3 films guaranteed to make double digits next week. I don't see The Phoenician Scheme being one of them. Now, just to start out with, Lilo and Stitch probably drops high 40s, low 50s next week, putting it at around 31-ish, let's say. I think that's fair, 31. I do think Ballerina outperforms that. So I'm going to go Ballerina. Lilo and Stitch. After that, I will say still Mission Impossible. And then this is where we get tricky. Dangerous Animals, I've seen the trailers for it, and it looks good. I might try to see that along with Ballerina. Maybe not the same day, but whatever. But I think I'll still say a Karate Kid. And then for the new releases, I think I would go Dangerous Animals over The Phoenician Scheme. I would, because The Phoenician Scheme right now is, where are you? Only in 6 theaters. To be fair, it's in, actually, okay, hold on then. On that night basis, you know what? No, screw it. I'll go Phoenician Scheme number 5. So again, Ballerina, Lilo and Stitch, Mission Impossible. I'll stick with Karate Kid, and I'll go Phoenician Scheme. That's my prediction, but I could be dead wrong. Normally am, and that's fine. But who do you got and why? What did you think of the box office this week? Let me know in the comments below. Till then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.